Somewhere in the open Atlantic, something the size of a small car is moving through the water, fast, and completely unseen from the surface. It's cutting through the current at almost 40 miles an hour, trailing a wake of spray behind it. Its whole body is built less like an animal and more like a torpedo, smooth, tapered, engineered for nothing but speed. Inside that body is a heart roughly the size of a basketball, powering muscle that never really stops moving. And that's exactly why hooking one doesn't feel like fishing at all. It feels like tapping into raw, uncontrolled power. You're holding onto something enormous through nothing but a thin line, and it has absolutely no idea you exist. It doesn't care that you're there, and it has no intention of finding out. This is the giant bluefin tuna, and this is what it actually takes to catch one. A giant bluefin can weigh over 1,000 pounds, heavier than a small car. It can also grow past 10 feet long, nose to tail. But honestly, the size isn't even the strangest part about this fish. Unlike almost every other fish in the ocean, bluefin don't just drift with the current. They're warm-blooded, one of the only fish on Earth that can heat their own muscles from the inside. That means their muscles run hotter than the water around them all the time. And that's exactly why they can sprint at speeds that would tear an ordinary fish apart. They're not built to hide in reefs or structure like most predators. They're built to simply outrun everything around them, including, more often than not, the boat that's trying to find them. Chasing something like this means throwing out normal fishing tackle completely. We're talking about reels the size of a dinner plate, spooled with hundreds of yards of line, rated to survive enormous, sustained force. Line strong enough that it can, quite literally, outpull a small truck. Rods are paired with a heavy fighting harness, bolted right onto the angler's hips, because without it, the handle would simply rip straight out of your hands. Nothing about this gear is casual. Every rod, every reel, every piece of it exists for one reason. The fish on the other end is fully capable of breaking anything smaller. But before any of that gear even matters, there's a much bigger problem. You actually have to find one of these fish first. And giant bluefin do not advertise where they are. Captains spend hours reading water temperature breaks and current lines, looking for any kind of edge. Sometimes it takes hours of watching bait activity. Sometimes it takes days, all just to mark a single fish on the sonar. It's less like fishing, honestly, and more like tracking an animal through territory you can't see into. One that happens to live somewhere completely invisible from the surface. Which means most of this fight happens long before the hook ever touches the water. And then, without any warning at all, the calm just ends. A reel that's been silent for 6 straight hours suddenly starts screaming. Line rips off the spool so fast, the drag actually starts to smoke. Rod bends double in less than half a second. There's no slow build-up to a bluefin strike, none at all. One moment, absolutely nothing is happening. The next, 300 yards of line are already gone, and the fish itself hasn't even shown its face yet. What follows isn't really a fight in the way most fishing is a fight. It's closer to an extended standoff, one where the fish, not the angler, makes every single rule. Giant bluefin have been known to run for over a mile in one continuous sprint, then dive straight down hundreds of feet the moment they feel the pressure ease. For the first 20 minutes, the angler's job isn't even to gain line back. It's simply to survive the fish deciding it isn't done yet. And that's when time itself starts working against you, second by second. What begins as minutes can stretch into hours before anything really changes. The toll shows up in the hands and forearms long before it shows up anywhere else. Blisters form, grips start to fail, and somehow the hands just keep pulling anyway. Shoulders burn under the harness long before the fish ever even thinks about slowing down. And by the time it's finally over, just standing back up feels like its own kind of victory. If you want to see exactly what a fight like this looks like from the very first cast, subscribe. There's a lot more water left to cover.